That is gynecologist part. Because unless and until we do patient selection, there is no role of andrology. So first is gynecologist role. Patient is walking up in your OPD, then whom to offer IUI, who are the best candidates for IUI. And why we all are talking so much about IUI? Because we all know that it is the first line ART technique for couples who come to you with infertility. But nowadays, as infertility is a very crude term, we call them as subfertility. So in my case paper, instead of infertility, I jot down as primary subfertility or secondary subfertility. IUI is definitely a minimally invasive, cost-effective alternative to IVF, particularly for couples with mild male factors, for unexplained infertility, or for ovulatory disorders. However, you all will agree with me that appropriate selection is the key to have optimum IUI success rate. And what is the logic behind IUI? The hypothesis is that by placing a large number of sperms which are high in the motile sperm, if you are placing them in the reproductive tract at the right time, it enhances the likelihood of conception. But when you are counseling, do give them the realistic expectation of success rate. The realistic success rate for IUI, if you are doing with husband semen, is 15 to 18%, and for donor insemination, it is 18 to 20%. So, what are the prerequisites? Prerequisites before doing IUI are that you have to document ovulation. I know we will be doing controlled ovarian hyperstimulation for them. At least one fallopian tube should be patent. You have to inseminate with an adequate number of motile sperm, and when you are doing IUI, there should be absence of active cervical, intrauterine or pelvic infection, because that is a big no to doing IUI. So how you will be selecting your patient? What are the indications? When you are considering a couple for IUI, do look for age of the woman. That is the biggest predictor for the IUI success rate. As age advances, that is if she becomes more than 35, her chances decreases just because of the increase in woman's age. And if she is more than 40, do think twice, thrice before offering IUI to this particular couple where age of the woman is more than 45. Because there are n number of papers which tells us that as age increases, that is after the 35 years, chances of IUI decreases. The second predictor to success is semen parameters. Sir will talk in detail about the semen parameters, but basically when you are ordering semen analysis, he will again tell you how to interpret it, but see to it that you have semen parameters where processed total motile sperm count less than 10 million, normal semen morphology less than 4%, inseminating motile count less than 1 million, and rapid progressive motility post-wash if it is less than 25%, then you have to see that your chances of IUI decreases. So sir will tell you what is the optimum semen parameters where you should consider advising IUI for this couple. Third predictor is etiology of the infertility. See, there are many etiological factors when it comes to the female factor. We have male factor and we have female factor. If you are doing it for ovulatory dysfunction, then the success is highest, that is to the tune of 21.2%. If you are doing it for tubal pathology, the success decreases. So does for endocrinological factor, for unexplained infertility, so does the other etiological factors are there. But if you are doing it for cervical factor, the chances of pregnancy is highest because you are surpassing that cervical factor. Endometriosis, it depends whether you are offering it for mild, moderate or severe. But as far as moderate to severe endometriosis is concerned, we prefer to offer them IVF rather than IUI. Unexplained infertility, yes, you can offer them IUI as the baseline, that is the starting point of treatment. If she comes with uterine fibroids, now many patients they do come. Remember, not all fibroids they need treatment. Leave apart the surgery. Not all fibroids need surgical removal before you offer them treatment. If it is a submucous fibroid, then yes, you have to offer her surgical removal before you start her on IUI. But otherwise, if fibroid is small, intramural or subserosal, you can start treatment with fibroid in situ. You don't have to treat that fibroid, especially if your patient is asymptomatic. So don't do any treatment for asymptomatic fibroids. BMI, yes, it definitely affects your success rate. So whenever any patient is walking in, you have to do her BMI, see what is her BMI like. If it is more than 30, then your chances of success of this IUI definitely decreases. So this is in nutshell the indications for IUI. You can see in male, if the male is having the ejaculatory failure, that is having retrograde ejaculation, hypospadias, if he is having impotence, if there is infrequent intercourse, which is very, very common nowadays, couples are having distant relationships, both are in IT sector, they don't have time, they are having infrequent intercourse. In cases of mild oligoasthenoteratospermia, and of course in those cases where you want to advise them donor insemination. For female infertility, the indications for IUI are cervical factor, mild endometriosis, unexplained endometriosis, vaginismus. I am sure you all are encountering women in your OPD with vaginismus and of course serodiscordant couples. So these are the indications for IUI. When we know indications, we should know the contraindications as well. That is cervical atresia, active infection, whether cervical, uterine or pelvic, moderate to severe endometriosis, bilateral tubal block and severe oligoasthenoteratospermia. So when patient is sitting, rather couple is sitting in front of you, make it a habit to counsel the couple rather than counseling a male or a female. Tell them come as a couple, that makes your life easy and decision makings become faster at their level. Instead of man telling woman and woman telling man what should be done, what my doctor has advised, see to it that couple is sitting in front of you. You have to first explain them why you have ordered IUI for them, what is the procedure like, what is the success rate, how many cycles, because when you are doing IUI, please counsel them that at least they have to do 3 to 4 IUI cycles in consecutive way. If you don't tell them this in the beginning, they just do one IUI, if it fails, they get disheartened, they just sit at home or they change the doctor. So that is not going to benefit them. Tell them we will be doing 3 to 4 consecutive cycles. Tell them the cost per cycle, what are the complications expected, and the $1 million question asked by each and every female is the bed rest. Whether she will have to take 15 days bed rest or whether she will have to take leave from the job, and what about that. Don't forget to take returned informed consent as per ART Act, which I will be telling you in my last lecture. Before doing IUI, you have to do certain pre-treatment workup, and definitely starts from history taking. When we say history, it has to be detailed menstrual history, because if she is having regular menses, practically speaking, she is having ovulatory cycles. Obstetric history, if she has taken previous treatment, what was the treatment taken, what was the response to that treatment, whether she is having any comorbidity, what medication she is currently on, you have to inquire. Family history, And because we just can't ask 100 or 200 questions, so just ask her, do you want to tell something more about your case? And I'm sure some women, they tell you about some rare disease or some rare medication or some family history which is there. After history, it comes to examination. BMI is of course important. Don't forget to do general examination, that is pulse, BP, temperature. All the examinations have their own role when it comes to IUI. After general examination, do move to per speculum and per vaginal examination. I know PS and PV is becoming a forgotten art, but at least in the first visit, at least put in a speculum to see whether that is cervicitis, vaginitis, cervical polyp, or there are any local factors. After doing PS and PV, then only go ahead and do transvaginal ultrasound. Don't put your TVS probe before doing PS and PV examination. And yes, TVS will tell you definitely about the antral follicular count, the uterine pathologies, and the adnexal pathologies. Then comes the blood reports. There are certain tests which has to be done for each and every woman, that is CBC, blood group. AMH, whatever guidelines are telling you, but AMH, I am doing it routinely because it definitely tells you about the ovarian reserve. Even if she is 23 years old or 25 years old, do test for AMH. Prolactin, thyroid, and case specific, because in our belt, sickle and thalassemia is very common. So we do HPLC, but you have to decide in your area. And of course, case specific certain blood test. Don't offer them all the tests which you have seen, like estradiol, FSH, LH, all these testosterone. These tests are not indicated in all the IUI cases. Tubal status, whether you should do HSG before offering them IUI or not. So there are certain indications where HSG you should do, that if she is more than 35 years of age, where she is giving you history and you feel that she is at risk for PID, like if she is having history of any DNC done prior. So it is your clinical judgment whether you would like to do HSG and then start with IUI. But if she is young with no high risk factors, you can directly go ahead and start your IUI. Semen parameters, I leave it to sir because he will tell you what should be the ideal semen parameters before you can say that yes, you can go ahead for IUI. So this is the predictive factors which we really don't get. This is the ideal woman under 30 years of age with cervical or anovulatory infertility, because the success rate is highest here, and a man with total motile sperm count of more than 5 million spermatozoa. So this is the ideal couple. And again, the ideal cycle will give you 2 follicles which measures more than 16 millimeter with E2 concentration of 500, more than 500 picogram per ml on the day of SCG. Donor semen insemination, the indications are azoospermia, severe male factor infertility. If she is single woman, that is allowed now in ART Act, and same-sex couples who are seeking conception. When you are ordering donor insemination, you should be very, very clear about the legal and ethical concerns. You should take the consent as per the consent form given in our ART Act. Use only and only cryopreserved semen procured from ART bank, and you have to keep all the data for you for 18 years. You just can't discard that data. So the key takeaways from this first section is IUI remains a valuable fertility treatment which when applied to carefully selected patients, and it is most effective in young women with good ovarian reserve, patent fallopian tubes, and mild male factor infertility.